Shabbat Shalom. It's been some time. We've been on vacation, Cantor and I, and we're now both back, and we're now in pre-High Holy Days mode, as perhaps you are yourself. And what does it mean to be in pre-High Holy Days mode? It means that we're almost into the month of Elul. Elul meaning Ani lidodi v'dodi li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. In other words, the month before High Holy Days classically is the time to explore relationships. And that means all the different dimensions of relationship. Relationship to oneself, relationship to others, relationship to family, relationship to colleagues at work, relationship ultimately to God. And what is that most critical relationship, the relationship to God, really all about? Most people have a pretty foggy conception about God these days, if they have any conception at all. I think the reason for that is pretty clear, that when we say the word God, we don't have any experiential referent. There's nothing we can point to in our experience where we can definitely say God. There are times, however, when I think the veil is lifted from our eyes, and we get the idea that perhaps there is such a reality as what's called in Hebrew hashgacha pratit, which means divine providence, that somehow whatever happens to us is not just chaos, not just random chance, but that there's some kind of guiding intelligence, some loving intelligence, a guiding hand that is fostering our progress through life. Now, this becomes extremely hard to accept when things don't go the way we want them to go. But we can't make the error of saying God's will is the way I want things to be. Sometimes God's will, I think, turns out to be not the way we think things should be, and then we get into a lot of theological trouble. A lot has to do with faith, a lot has to do with surrender, and how do we get to that place of faith? That's a particularly good question today, when so many of us really, I think, don't have such a strong faith in what I would call the overall coherence of life, that things should make sense in some way. So many things in the world going wrong simultaneously, these days in particular. It's a very rough time for the world. And so how do we make sense of all this? I think ultimately one has to come back to one's own self and one's own life and one's own relationships. We can't solve the problems of the world very easily. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But we can make significant strides, perhaps, in solving our own conflicts and difficulties. This is what Chuva is all about. This word that we translate in English as repentance, which is a very cold word and a hard word, I think. Chuva, from the very sound of it, you can hear is a much softer term. Chuva means coming back to the way of doing things properly. And it's not just on the level of doing, it's also on the level of being. So I know from my own experience that one can change dramatically, sometimes in a very short time, from the inside out. This is the most wonderful kind of change. The change in which one's heart changes, in which one starts to be able to lead into life from one's heart. There are many different ways one can approach life. I think that we're trained by our educational system mainly to approach life from here, from the intellect. And intellect is certainly a formidable instrument with which to approach life. Many of us approach it through the gut. Many of us approach it through other parts of our body. But approaching through the heart, I think, is getting to the essence of what Elul is all about. Ani lidodi v'dodi li. That we should be leading into life with a bias towards love and compassion and patience and flexibility in our relationships. And how life can change when you are leading from the heart rather than from the head. So many rigidities, so many judgments, so many resentments, so much anxiety can be resolved and softened in that way. So I want to talk more about this actually in the course of the High Holy Days, or maybe even in the course of these videos that we're going to be making in the next few weeks. But the message that I want to communicate today is that change is mainly a matter of relationship, and relationship is mainly a matter of mediation, of leading from the heart. And to the extent that we're in touch with our hearts, our sense of loving kindness, our sense of compassion for ourselves and for others, that's the extent to which we can be successful in this process of Chuva. So I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and anticipating a beautiful High Holy Day season with you.